They say a wolf never forgets her mate. They say the bond carved into your soul can never be erased, that love leaves marks deeper than any scar. They were wrong. I woke up in darkness with no name, no past, only pain. The silver burned my wrists. The guards cursed me. And the little girl in the cell beside me? She called me Mama, though I couldn't remember her face. But here's what I did remember: survival. Protection. The fierce, unbreakable instinct to shield her from the monsters who kept us chained in the bowels of the earth. What I didn't know was that the monster who put us here wore a crown of lies. That the man who would tear apart kingdoms to find us was my mate. That my memories weren't lost, they were stolen. And when the truth finally clawed its way to the surface, the whole realm would burn. This is the story of how I became the Luna they tried to erase. How I remembered. How I fought back, and how love, even when forgotten, always finds its way home. Chapter 1. The girl in the cage next to mine stopped singing 2 days ago. I watched through the iron bars as they carried her limp body past my cell at dawn. Her blonde hair dragged across the filthy stone floor, and her small hand hung loose, fingers still curled like she'd been reaching for something in her final moments. She couldn't have been more than 6 years old. I didn't cry for her. I'd learned not to waste tears in this place. The guards enjoyed tears too much, collecting them like trophies. But I did remember her voice, sweet and clear despite the horror surrounding us, singing little songs about sunshine and flowers she'd probably never seen. The fortress was built to break wolves. Sunlight never reached the lower dungeons where they kept us. Only torchlight flickered against wet stone walls that wept with cold. The air tasted of iron and fear, thick enough to choke on. Time didn't exist here, only the endless rhythm of suffering measured by screams echoing through the corridors above. I had no memories of life before this place. No family, no home, no name that felt like mine. The guards called me Phantom because my wolf was gray as smoke and twice as elusive. At least that's what they said. I hadn't felt her in months, maybe years. The silver cuffs around my wrists and ankles made sure of that, burning whenever I reached for the shift, reminding my body that transformation meant agony. My cell was barely large enough to lie down in. Stone on all sides except the barred front that faced the corridor. I traced every crack in these walls with my fingers during the long, empty hours. Counted every water drop that fell from the ceiling. Memorized the pattern of mold growing in the corner. Wolves lived in the levels above us. The free ones, the warriors, the pack members who served whoever ruled this nightmare. We could hear them sometimes, their footsteps and laughter and normal lives happening in a world we'd never touch again. Down here was different. Down here was where they sent the ones they wanted to destroy slowly, methodically, until nothing remained but obedience or death. Heavy boots echoed down the corridor. My stomach clenched. My heartbeat kicked against my ribs like a trapped bird. They were coming. 2 guards appeared, their faces hard and familiar. I knew them by scent now. One reeked of tobacco and cruelty, the other of wolfsbane and indifference. The cruel one smiled as he unlocked my cell door. "Time for your lesson, Phantom," he said, voice dripping with mockery. "Lady Meridian wants to see progress." Lady Meridian. Even her name tasted like poison. I'd never seen her, but I knew she was the one who gave the orders. The one who wanted us broken, compliant, useful. My legs shook as I stood. Starvation did that, made your own body feel like a stranger. But I kept my chin up. Falling, showing weakness, only made them hurt you longer. They dragged me down the familiar path. Stone stairs worn smooth by countless feet. The temperature dropped with each step until my breath turned to white mist. My bare feet went numb against the ice-cold floor. The chamber at the bottom was exactly as I remembered, a nightmare made real. A heavy wooden table dominated the center, its surface stained dark with old blood. Silver chains hung from the ceiling like sleeping serpents. Tools lined a nearby table, knives, brands, needles, each one polished to a terrible shine. Garrick, the head torturer, waited with his massive arms crossed over his chest. His expression was boring, like hurting people was just another tedious chore. She's still resisting the training, he grunted to the guards. Lady Meridian will be displeased. They strapped me to the table. Leather bindings cut into my ankles and wrists. I clenched my jaw, refusing to make a sound. I wouldn't give them my fear. Not today. Garrick picked up the silver brand from its resting place in the coals. The metal glowed orange red, hungry for flesh. Let's see if pain teaches you obedience, he said softly. The brand touched my shoulder. The world exploded into white-hot agony. My body convulsed against the restraints. Something dark and furious stirred beneath my skin. My wolf, trying desperately to surface, to protect us, to fight back. But the silver cuffs flared with heat, forcing her down, trapping her beneath layers of pain and poison. I screamed. I hated that I screamed. But the sound tore out of me anyway, raw and animal. There she is, Garrick murmured with sick satisfaction. The beast trying to wake up. He pressed a cloth soaked in wolfsbane against my mouth, and the world tilted sideways. My wolf retreated back into the dark corners of my consciousness, whimpering. When it was finally over, when my throat was raw from screaming and my body felt like burning wreckage, they dragged me back to my cell and threw me inside like garbage. The iron door clanged shut. The lock clicked. Footsteps faded. I lay on the cold stone, shaking, trying to remember how to breathe through the pain. Then I heard her. Are you okay? The small voice came from the cell directly across from mine. I forced my head up, blinking through tears I didn't remember shedding. A little girl sat pressed against her bars, watching me with huge, worried eyes. She couldn't have been more than 4 years old. Dark curls framed her round face, and despite the bruises on her arms and the dirt smudging her cheeks, she looked at me with something I hadn't seen in this place. Hope. I didn't know her name. We weren't allowed names down here. But I'd been watching over her since they brought her to this level 3 months ago, giving her portions of my already meager food, humming songs through the bars when nightmares made her cry. She was too young for this hell. Too innocent. Too bright. I'm okay, little one, I whispered, though my voice cracked. Just tired. She crawled closer to her bars, reaching one tiny hand through the gap. You're always tired after they take you to the bad room. The bad room. Such a simple name for such horror. I dragged myself across my cell floor until I could press my hand against hers through the bars. Her fingers were warm and soft, impossibly fragile. Did they feed you today? I asked. She nodded. But I saved some bread for you. You need it more. My chest tightened painfully. This child, this precious, selfless child, was trying to take care of me when she could barely take care of herself. You keep it, I told her firmly. Growing girls need their strength. She wrinkled her nose. You sound like a mama. The word hit something deep inside me, something that felt like memory, but dissolved before I could grasp it. Mama. Had I been someone's mother once? Has someone called me that in a life I couldn't remember? Maybe I was, I said softly. In another life. The little girl smiled, and for just a moment, the dungeon felt less dark. Then you're my mama now, she declared. Because I don't have one here, and you don't have a little girl. So we match. Something warm and fierce bloomed in my chest. A purpose. A reason to survive beyond mere stubbornness. Okay, I whispered. I'll be your mama, and you'll be my brave little wolf. She beamed, then yawned widely. Will you sing me the song? The one about the moon? I didn't remember where I'd learned that song, but my voice found the melody anyway, soft and low, filling the space between our cells with something gentle. Silver moon, watching from above, keep us safe, keep us warm, wrap us in your love. When the darkness feels too heavy and the night too long, silver moon, sing us your song. Her eyes grew heavy. Within minutes, she was asleep, curled against her bars like she wanted to stay as close to me as possible. I sat there in the dark, watching her breathe, and made myself a silent promise. As long as I still drew breath, nothing would hurt her. Whatever it took, whoever I had to become, I would protect this child. The guards could break my body. They could burn away my memories. They could chain my wolf in silver and pain. But they couldn't kill the one thing that made me more than just a prisoner. My ability to love, to protect, to fight for someone smaller and more helpless than myself. Tomorrow, they might drag me back to that chamber. Tomorrow might bring new horrors. But tonight, I had a daughter to protect. And that made me dangerous in ways they couldn't begin to understand. Above us, somewhere in the fortress I'd never seen, someone was making decisions about our fate. Lady Meridian, with her cold commands and colder heart. She thought she'd broken me. She had no idea what she'd actually created. In the deepest darkness, love becomes a weapon. What would you sacrifice to protect someone you love? Drop your thoughts below. I'm reading everyone. Chapter 2. Morning came without sunlight. It always did. I woke to the sound of metal scraping against stone as the guards shoved tin bowls through the slots at the bottom of our cell doors. Breakfast, if the watery gruel and stale bread could be called that. My body ached from yesterday's session in the torture chamber. Fresh burns marked my shoulder and ribs, the silver having left its signature across my skin. But I'd survived worse. I always survived. I dragged myself to the bowl and immediately divided my portion in half. The little girl across from me was already awake, watching me with those two knowing eyes. "You need to eat," she whispered. "You're getting skinnier. And you're growing," I countered, pushing half my bread through the bars toward her cell. "Growing girls need more food than broken women." She hesitated, then took it with small, grateful hands. "You're not broken," she said fiercely. "You're the strongest person I know." If only she knew how close to breaking I really was. We ate in comfortable silence, savoring every bite, even though the food tasted like ash and despair. I'd learned not to complain. Complaining meant less food tomorrow, or worse, a visit to Garrick's chamber. "Do you think," the little girl started, then stopped herself. "Think what, little one?" She bit her lip. "Do you think there's really a world up there? With sunshine and flowers and nice wolves who don't hurt people?" My throat tightened. She'd been here so long she was starting to forget what kindness looked like, what freedom tasted like. "Yes," I said firmly. "And someday we're going to see it." It was a lie. We both knew it. No one left the lower dungeons except in a body bag. But hope was the only currency we had, so I spent it freely. She smiled, that beautiful, heartbreaking smile that made every burn and scar worth it. Then the screaming started. It came from somewhere down the corridor, raw and desperate. A male voice, begging in words that dissolved into animal sounds. My stomach turned. Another prisoner being cleansed, being taught obedience through agony. The little girl pressed her hands over her ears, humming loudly to block out the sounds. I'd taught her that trick weeks ago. Sometimes not hearing was the only mercy available. The screaming stopped abruptly. Too abruptly. Silence fell like a burial shroud. Then boots. Multiple pairs, marching in formation. The little girl's eyes went wide with terror. "They're coming," she whispered. The footsteps grew louder, closer. My heart hammered against my ribs. They usually came for me, not her. Please, not her. Please take me instead. But the boots stopped at her cell. "No." I breathed, lunging toward my bars. "No, please." The guard, the cruel one who smelled of tobacco, unlocked her door with a grin that promised pain. "Lady Meridian wants to see what this little mutt can endure," he said. The little girl scrambled backward, pressing herself into the corner of her cell. Her eyes found mine, filled with terror. "Mama," she whimpered. The word shattered something in my chest. "Take me instead," I shouted, gripping my bars, so hard the silver burned my palms. "She's just a child. Take me." The guard laughed. "Had you yesterday, Phantom. Today's her turn." He grabbed the little girl by her arm, yanking her forward so violently she cried out. She reached for me with her free hand, fingers stretching through the space between us. "I'll be okay," she said through tears, trying to be brave. "I'll go to my happy place like you taught me." "No." I slammed my fists against the bars, ignoring the searing pain of silver against skin. "Please. She's innocent. She hasn't done anything." But they were already dragging her away, her small body struggling uselessly against their grip. Her scream echoed down the corridor as they disappeared into the darkness, and I collapsed against my cell door, my own screams joining hers. Hours passed, or maybe minutes. Time broke apart when someone you loved was being tortured. I paced my tiny cell like a caged animal, my wolf clawing at the inside of my skin, desperate to break free and tear apart anyone who dared touch our child. But the silver held firm, burning away any attempt to shift. Finally, they brought her back. They tossed her into her cell like she was nothing, and the door clanged shut behind her with terrible finality. Little one. I pressed myself against the bars, trying to see her through the darkness. She lay crumpled on the floor, not moving. Please, I whispered, my voice breaking. Please talk to me. A tiny whimper answered. She was alive. Thank the gods, she was alive. Slowly, painfully, she crawled toward her bars. Even in the dim torchlight, I could see fresh bruises blooming across her arms, new burns marking her neck. Rage flooded through me, hot and vicious and completely useless behind these silver bars. I'm here, I said, reaching through to touch her hand. I'm right here, brave girl. She curled against the bars, as close to me as the iron would allow. It hurt, she whispered. I tried to go to my happy place, but it hurt too much. Tears streamed down my face. I know, baby, but you survived. You're so strong. Not as strong as you. Stronger, I corrected. You're the strongest wolf I've ever known. She managed a weak smile before exhaustion pulled her under. Within moments, she was asleep, her small body trembling even in unconsciousness. I stayed pressed against the bars, keeping watch over her, my mind spinning with dark thoughts. Someone had to pay for this. Lady Meridian, Garrick, every guard who'd laid hands on an innocent child, they all had to pay. But I was powerless.
Chained. Broken. Or was I?
My wolf stirred beneath the silver poisoning, weak but angry. She was still there, still fighting. And if I could just find a way to break these bonds, to remember who I was before this place stole my memories. A commotion erupted somewhere above us.
Shouting.
Running feet. The clash of weapons. Something was happening. The little girl stirred, waking at the noise. What's that? I don't know, I admitted, straining to hear more. Then the heavy dungeon door at the end of our corridor burst open, and guards rushed past our cells in a panic. The Supreme Alpha is here, one of them shouted. He's demanding access to the lower levels. My breath caught. Supreme Alpha. I didn't know what that meant, but the fear in the guards' voices was unmistakable. Get those two out of sight, another guard barked, pointing at our cells. If he sees them. Too late for that, a voice said from the shadows. A woman's voice, cold and sharp as broken glass. Lady Meridian stepped into the torchlight for the first time. She was beautiful in the way poisonous things are beautiful, elegant and deadly. Dark red hair cascaded over her shoulders, and her gown shimmered like blood in moonlight. But her eyes were what caught my attention. Cold, calculating, empty of anything resembling mercy. When her gaze landed on me, something strange happened. Recognition flashed across her perfect features. Not surprise, recognition. Like she knew me. Like she'd been expecting to see me here. Well, she purred, moving closer to my cell. You're still alive. How unfortunate. Confusion swirled through my mind. Do I know you? Her smile was all teeth. Oh, darling. You used to know me very well indeed. Before I could respond, a massive presence filled the corridor. The temperature seemed to drop, and every wolf in the vicinity, guards, prisoners, even Lady Meridian, went rigid with instinctive fear. He stepped into view, and the world shifted on its axis. The Supreme Alpha was tall and broad-shouldered, dressed in black armor that seemed to absorb light. Power radiated from him like heat from a forge, ancient, terrible, absolute. His eyes swept the corridor, taking in the cells, the prisoners, the conditions we were kept in. Then his gaze locked onto mine. He froze. completely, utterly frozen. His nostrils flared. His entire body went rigid as stone. And when he spoke, his voice was barely a whisper, barely a breath, barely anything but pure devastation. Celeste. The name hit me like a physical blow. My knees buckled. The world spun. Celeste. Was that my name? The Supreme Alpha moved toward my cell, and Lady Meridian quickly stepped in front of him, her expression perfectly composed. Your Majesty, she said smoothly. What a surprise. We weren't expecting. Move. The single word carried enough command to make her stumble backward. He stopped in front of my cell, his hands gripping the bars. Up close, I could see his face clearly, strong features, dark eyes that burned with something fierce and familiar, a jaw clenched so tight I thought it might break. How? He whispered. How are you here? I searched everywhere. I burned down kingdoms looking for you. I didn't understand. Couldn't understand. This stranger was looking at me like I was his entire world, and I couldn't remember ever seeing his face before. Then his gaze dropped, finally seeing the little girl pressed against my side. His expression cracked open. Raw emotion flooded his features, shock, grief, desperate hope. Isla, he breathed. My daughter. My little star. The little girl, Isla, tilted her head, studying him with cautious curiosity. She didn't remember him either. Didn't recognize her own father. But I felt the truth of it in my bones. This man wasn't lying. Somehow, impossibly, this child belonged to him, which meant she belonged to me too. The Supreme Alpha's hands trembled against the bars. When he spoke again, his voice was thick with barely restrained violence. Who dared to touch my mate and my daughter? Everything just changed. The lost Luna has been found, but she doesn't remember her own mate. What do you think happens next? Share your theories below while we continue this journey together. Chapter 3. The Supreme Alpha didn't wait for permission. He didn't ask questions or demand explanations. He simply gripped the iron bars of my cell and pulled. Metal screamed. The stone cracked. The entire door tore free from its frame like it was made of paper. Every wolf in the corridor dropped to their knees, including the guards who moments ago had been our torturers. Even Lady Meridian bowed her head, though I caught the flash of panic in her eyes before she masked it. The Supreme Alpha stepped into my cell, and suddenly the tiny space felt even smaller. His presence was overwhelming, not threatening but massive, like standing next to a storm that could either shelter or destroy you. His eyes swept over me, cataloging every injury, every burn, every mark of suffering on my skin. His jaw worked silently, and I watched his hands curl into fists so tight his knuckles went white. Who did this? He asked, his voice deadly calm. Tell me their names. I opened my mouth but couldn't find words. This stranger knew me. I knew Isla was calling me his mate, but I had no memory of him, no connection to the life he was describing with his grief-stricken eyes. I started, my voice cracking. I don't remember you. Something shattered in his expression. Pain, raw and devastating, flickered across his features before he forced it away. They took that too, he whispered, more to himself than to me. Then his gaze hardened. It doesn't matter. We're leaving.
Now.
He moved toward Isla's cell, but she shrank back, pressing herself against the wall. Her eyes were wide with fear. This massive, powerful wolf was terrifying even when he was trying to be gentle. It's okay, little one, I said quickly, reaching through the bars. He won't hurt you. How do you know? She whispered. I didn't know. Not really. But something deep in my chest, some instinct I couldn't name, trusted him completely. Because, I said softly, I think he's your papa. The Supreme Alpha knelt in front of her cell, making himself smaller, less threatening. When he spoke, his voice was thick with emotion. Isla, he said, my little star. You have your mother's eyes and your grandmother's smile. You were born on the winter solstice, and the first thing you ever did was grab my finger and refuse to let go. His voice broke. I've been looking for you for 3 years. Every day, every night. I never stopped searching. Tears streamed down Isla's face. She didn't remember, but something in his words resonated. Will you take us away from the bad place? Yes, he promised. And I'll burn this fortress to ashes for what they did to you. He tore her cell door free as easily as he'd torn mine. Isla hesitated only a moment before running to me, burying her face in my tattered dress. I wrapped my arms around her, feeling the Supreme Alpha's gaze on us both. The chains, he said quietly, gesturing to the silver cuffs still burning my wrists and ankles. A healer rushed forward, a woman with kind eyes and gentle hands. She worked quickly, applying a salve to my skin before carefully removing each cuff. The relief was immediate and overwhelming. My wolf stirred more strongly than she had in months, recognizing freedom, even if I didn't remember what it felt like. Lady Meridian stepped forward, her voice smooth as silk. Your Majesty, this is truly miraculous. We had no idea they were being held here. When we conquered the Iron Fang Pack last month, we found this fortress filled with prisoners. Conquered? The Supreme Alpha's voice could have frozen fire. You told me you were inspecting trade routes in the Northern Territories. She didn't miss a beat. Yes, well, the Iron Fang Pack's treachery came to light unexpectedly. We had to act swiftly. She pressed a hand to her chest, eyes wide with false concern. When we found the prisoners, I immediately thought of you. I knew you'd been searching for Celeste and Isla. I was just about to send word. You were just about to send word, he repeated, his tone flat and dangerous. After how long? It's only been 3 days since we cleared the fortress, Your Majesty. I wanted to be certain it was truly them before giving you false hope. I watched this exchange with growing unease. Something wasn't right about her story. The way she'd looked at me earlier, with recognition, not surprise. The way the guards had immediately tried to hide us when they heard he was coming. But I had no proof. Only instinct. And a stranger's instinct wasn't worth much. The Supreme Alpha gathered Isla into his arms with infinite care, as if she might break. Then he offered his hand to me. I hesitated, staring at it. I won't force you, he said quietly. But please, Celeste, let me take you home. Home. The word felt foreign and familiar all at once. I took his hand. His fingers closed around mine, warm and strong, and something electric passed between us. My wolf surged forward, pressing against my skin, recognizing something I couldn't consciously remember. Mate, she whispered. Our mate. He lifted me easily, cradling both Isla and me against his chest, as if we weighed nothing. His scent surrounded us, pine and winter air, and something uniquely him that made my wolf hum with contentment. Release every prisoner in this fortress, he commanded the guards. Feed them.
Clothe them.
Any wolf who harmed them answers to me personally. The guards scrambled to obey, keys rattling as they rushed to unlock cells. Lady Meridian smiled graciously. Of course, Your Majesty. I'll oversee it personally. As we passed her, I caught her watching me with an expression that vanished the moment she realized I was looking. But I saw it, cold calculation mixed with something like hatred. Isla clung to my neck as we ascended the stairs, leaving the dungeon behind. Each step took us higher, toward light I hadn't seen in so long it hurt to imagine. What's your name? I asked the Supreme Alpha quietly. He looked down at me, and the pain in his eyes was unbearable. Theron. Theron Nightshade. Theron, I repeated, testing the name on my tongue. It felt right, like a word I should have never forgotten. We emerged into a grand hall lit by dozens of torches. Wolves lined the walls, all bowing as we passed.
Some gasped.
Some wept. One woman pressed her hand to her mouth, tears streaming down her face. Our Luna, someone whispered. She's alive. Luna. They were calling me Luna. The healer appeared at Theron's side, her voice gentle but urgent. Your Majesty, they both need immediate medical attention. The burns, the malnutrition, the silver poisoning. I know, Theron said tightly. Prepare the healing chambers. Everything they need. We moved through corridors of stone and silver, each one more magnificent than the last. This wasn't a dungeon anymore. This was a palace. Tapestries hung from walls depicting wolves running beneath massive moons. Chandeliers cast warm light across polished floors. It should have been beautiful, but all I could think about was the darkness below, the prisoners still waiting for rescue, the little girl who'd stopped singing. "Theron," I said. "The others, the ones who died, they deserve proper burial rites," he finished. "I know. It's already being arranged." Of course he knew. This wasn't a man who forgot the dead. He carried us to a private chamber and set us gently on a massive bed covered in soft furs. Isla immediately burrowed into the blankets, her eyes already drooping with exhaustion. The healer began her examination, her hands glowing with soft golden light as she worked. She checked Isla first, murmuring healing spells over each injury. My daughter, and I realized with a start that I'd claimed her as mine without question, relaxed under the treatment, her breathing evening out. Then the healer turned to me. Her expression grew grave as she catalogued my injuries. Silver burns, wolfsbane poisoning, malnutrition, and... She paused, her glowing hands hovering over my head. "Memory suppression. This is old magic, Your Majesty. Dark magic. Someone didn't just hurt her, they specifically targeted her ability to remember." Theron's growl shook the chamber. "Can you restore it?" The healer shook her head sadly. "The magic is beyond my skill. I can heal her body, but her memories..." She looked at me with sympathy. "I'm sorry, Luna. I don't know how to give you back what was stolen." I should have been devastated, but a strange calm settled over me instead. "I survived without memories," I said quietly. "I can learn to live with what I have now." "No," Theron said fiercely. He knelt beside the bed, taking my hand in both of his. "You shouldn't have to. Someone did this to you deliberately. They took you from me, took our daughter, and tried to erase everything you were." His voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. "I will find out who, and they will pay." Looking into his eyes, I believed him. This man would tear apart the world for us. "Tell me," I said. "Tell me who I was." He took a shaky breath. "You were my Luna, my mate, the love of my life." His thumb brushed over my knuckles. "You were fierce and kind and brilliant. You ran the pack with wisdom beyond your years. Everyone loved you, not because you were Luna, but because you saw them, really saw them." And Isla? His expression softened. "We tried for years to have a pup. When you finally became pregnant, you glowed. You sang to her every night before she was born." He smiled sadly. "The same lullaby you sang in the dungeon. I heard you." Tears pricked my eyes. "What happened to us?" His jaw clenched. "3 years ago, you vanished. One morning you were there, and by evening you were gone. No scent trail, no witnesses, nothing. Just gone." Pain cracked through his voice. "I searched everywhere, burned through every favor, every alliance. Nothing. And Isla, a year after you disappeared, they took her too." His hands trembled. "From inside our own fortress, surrounded by guards. Someone betrayed us, Celeste. Someone we trusted." I looked across the room to where Lady Meridian had followed us, standing in the doorway with perfect posture and a concerned expression. "Lady Meridian," I said slowly. "She called me her friend, said she knew me." Something dark flickered across Theron's face. "She was your closest companion. After you vanished, the council pressured me to name a new Luna. I refused for 2 years." He glanced at Lady Meridian. "She finally convinced me that stability required it, that you would have wanted the pack protected." Lady Meridian stepped forward, her voice soft and pained. "I only wanted to honor your memory, Celeste. I never imagined you were still alive." But as she spoke, a memory fragment flashed through my mind. Brief, incomplete, but vivid. Lady Meridian's face, twisted with rage. Her voice hissing. "You should have stayed gone." I gasped, pressing a hand to my temple. "What is it?" Theron asked urgently. I don't know." A flash of something. Her face. She was angry. Lady Meridian's expression didn't change, but something cold moved behind her eyes. Memory suppression can cause false impressions, she said smoothly. Your mind is trying to fill in gaps with imagination. Was she right? I didn't know.
Couldn't know.
But my wolf growled deep in my chest, a warning I couldn't ignore. Theron studied Lady Meridian for a long moment, then turned back to me. Rest now. Both of you. We'll sort out the truth later. As the healer finished her work and left, Theron remained kneeling beside the bed. He looked at me like I was something precious and fragile, something he'd lost and miraculously found. I know you don't remember me, he said quietly. And I won't force you to feel something that isn't there. But Celeste. His voice broke. I never stopped loving you. Not for a single moment. My chest tightened with an emotion I couldn't name. This man was a stranger, but he felt like home. Help me remember, I whispered. Help me find the truth. He pressed a kiss to my forehead, gentle and reverent. I will. I promise. As he stood to leave, giving us space to rest, I called out softly. Theron. He turned, hope blazing in his eyes. Thank you, I said, for finding us. Always, he replied. I'll always find you. After he left, I curled around Isla, holding her close as she slept. My mind raced with questions, fragments of memory, and the growing certainty that something was very, very wrong. Lady Meridian had been there when I was taken. I didn't know how I knew, but I felt it in my bones. And tomorrow, I will start finding proof. Trust is a dangerous gift when memories are stolen. Who do you believe? The mate who claims to love her, or the friend who seems too perfect? Let me know your suspicions in the comments. Chapter 4. The next morning, I woke to sunlight. Real, actual sunlight streaming through massive windows, warm against my skin. For a moment, I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. I'd forgotten what daylight felt like, forgotten that the world had color beyond torchlit gray and shadow. Isla stirred beside me, then sat up with a gasp. Her eyes went wide as she stared at the golden rays, painting the room. Mama, she whispered, voice filled with wonder. Is that the sun? My throat tightened. Yes, baby. That's the sun. She scrambled to the window, pressing her small hands against the glass, and started to cry. Not from fear or pain, but from overwhelming joy. I joined her, wrapping my arms around her as we stood there together, letting warmth we'd been denied for so long soak into our bones. A soft knock interrupted the moment. The healer from last night entered, carrying fresh clothes and a tray of food that smelled like heaven. Good morning, Luna, she said with a gentle smile. I'm Mira. I'll be overseeing your recovery. Luna. That title still felt foreign, like a coat that didn't quite fit. Mira set the tray down. Bread that was actually soft, fruit that gleamed with ripeness, cheese that didn't smell like rot. Isla's eyes went huge. Can we eat all of this? She asked hesitantly. All of it, Mira confirmed. And there's more whenever you're hungry. I watched Isla dive into the food with barely restrained enthusiasm, and my heart both soared and broke. No child should be this excited about basic meals. No child should know the gnawing emptiness of starvation. Mira examined us both as we ate, checking the healing progress from last night. The physical wounds are responding well, she said. But the silver poisoning will take time to flush completely. A few weeks, perhaps a month. And then, I asked, your wolf should fully return. You'll be able to shift again.
She paused.
Your Majesty, I must ask, do you remember anything more? Any fragments? I thought about the flash of Lady Meridian's angry face. Pieces. Nothing complete. Myra's expression grew serious. The magic used on you was designed to be permanent. Whoever did this wanted to ensure you never remembered. She touched my hand gently. But trauma sometimes cracks even the strongest spells. Strong emotions, familiar scents, places, they might trigger more memories. Before I could respond, Theron entered. He'd clearly been up for hours already. His hair was damp from washing, and he wore simple training clothes rather than the armor from yesterday. But his eyes went straight to us, and the relief in them was palpable. You're awake, he said, as if he'd been worried we might vanish again. "It's hard to sleep past dawn when you've been in darkness for years," I replied. He flinched at the reminder. Then he noticed Isla, still eating with single-minded focus. A small smile touched his lips. She always loved breakfast. Even as a baby, she'd wake the entire fortress demanding her morning meal. Isla paused mid-bite, studying him curiously. "Really? Really?" He moved closer, keeping his movements slow and non-threatening. "You also refused to eat vegetables until your mother convinced you they were warrior food that made you strong." Despite herself, Isla giggled. "Did it work?" "You ate an entire plate of greens that night," Theron said, his voice warm with memory. Then his expression shifted and became more serious. "Isla, I know you don't remember me, and I won't force you to call me father if you're not ready. But I want you to know, I've missed you every single day." Something in Isla's face softened. She set down her bread and walked over to him, looking up with those two wise eyes. "Mama says you're my papa," she said carefully. "And Mama doesn't lie." Theron dropped to one knee, so he was at her level. "Your mama is the most honest person I've ever known." Isla considered this, then held out her small hand. "I'm Isla. Nice to meet you." The formal introduction from his own daughter nearly broke him. I could see it in the way his eyes glistened. But he took her hand gently, shaking it with the same seriousness she'd offered. "I'm Theron. Nice to meet you too." It wasn't much, but it was a beginning. Mira excused herself, leaving the three of us alone. The silence stretched, not uncomfortable exactly, but heavy with everything unsaid. "The council wants to see you," Theron finally said, looking at me. "They're demanding answers about what happened." My stomach dropped. "When?" "Tonight. They called an emergency session." His jaw clenched. I tried to delay it, but several members insisted. "They claim they need to verify your identity, assess the situation." "Assess whether I'm fit to be Luna," I translated. He didn't deny it. I stood, moving to the window, staring out at the sprawling fortress grounds below. Wolves moved about their daily routines, training, working, living their lives. A life I apparently used to be part of, but couldn't remember. What if I can't prove who I am? I asked quietly. What if they decide I'm not the real Celeste? Theron was behind me in an instant, his hand resting carefully on my shoulder. "You are Celeste. My wolf recognizes his mate. That's proof enough." "Is it?" I turned to face him. "Theron, I don't remember being your mate. I don't remember this place, these people, this life. What if?" I swallowed hard. What if whoever took my memories also changed who I am? What if the Celeste you loved doesn't exist anymore? The pain in his eyes was crushing. "Then I'll get to know who you are now," he said fiercely. "And I'll love her just as much." The sincerity in his voice made my chest ache. This man had been searching for me for 3 years, had refused to give up, refused to move on. And I couldn't even remember his face. "I want to remember," I whispered. "I want to remember you, us, everything. But I don't know how." "We'll figure it out," he promised. Together. A knock at the door interrupted us. A guard entered, bowing quickly. "Your Majesty, Lady Meridian requests an audience." I felt Theron stiffen beside me. "Tell her." "I'll see her," I said. Theron looked at me sharply. "Celeste." "I need to face her," I explained. "If she was my friend, if she might know something about what happened to me, I have to talk to her." He didn't like it. That was clear from his expression. But he nodded. "I'll stay with you." "No," I said firmly. "Let me speak with her alone." "Absolutely not." "Theron." I met his eyes. "If you're there, she'll perform for you. But if it's just us, woman to woman, friend to supposed friend." I trailed off. "Maybe she'll slip. Maybe I'll remember something." He struggled with it, his protective instincts warring with his understanding that I was right. Finally, reluctantly, he nodded. "I'll be right outside the door," he said. "You scream, I'm coming in."
Deal.
He kissed Isla on the forehead, then left, taking our daughter with him to give us privacy. The door had barely closed before Lady Meridian glided in, all grace and concern. She looked different in daylight, less intimidating, more beautiful. Her red hair was woven with small braids, and her dress was simpler than last night's, though still elegant. She rushed toward me, hands outstretched. "Celeste," she breathed. "Oh, my dear friend. When I saw you last night, I could hardly believe it." She tried to embrace me, but I stepped back instinctively. Hurt flashed across her face. "I'm sorry," I said carefully. I don't remember you." Of course. She composed herself quickly. The healer explained about the memory suppression. "It must be terrifying." "It is," I admitted, watching her carefully. "Lady Meridian. Please call me Meridian. We were closer than sisters once." She smiled warmly. "We did everything together. Trained together, ran the pack duties together, shared secrets." "What kind of secrets?" She moved to the window, her expression turning wistful. "Oh, everything. Your fears about being a good Luna, your dreams for the pack's future, your worries about Isla." She glanced at me. "You were so afraid something would happen to her. You used to have nightmares about her being taken." I slid down my spine. "I had nightmares about her being taken?" "Constantly," Meridian said. "You were so protective of her." "Sometimes." She hesitated, as if uncertain whether to continue. "Sometimes Theron worried you were too protective. That you were letting fear control you." Something about the way she said it felt wrong. Manipulative. Like she was planting seeds of doubt. "Did we ever fight?" I asked abruptly. "You and I." Meridian's smile faltered for just a fraction of a second. "Fight? No, never. We were best friends." But I caught it, that tiny hesitation, that microscopic crack in her perfect facade. I moved closer to her, and as I did, her scent hit me stronger. Lavender and something else. Something familiar and wrong. Wolfsbane. Why would she smell like wolfsbane? A memory fragment exploded behind my eyes. Sharp, painful, vivid. Meridian's hands on my shoulders, her voice urgent. "You have to leave, Celeste. Tonight. They're coming for Isla." "Who's coming?" I demanded. "I can't explain, but you have to trust me. Take Isla and run." "I need to tell Theron." "There's no time. Please, if you love your daughter, go now." The memory shattered, leaving me gasping. Meridian grabbed my arms, steadying me. "Are you all right? What happened?" I stared at her, my mind racing. In that memory, she'd been trying to help me, warning me, urging me to run. But then why had I ended up in that fortress? Why had Isla been taken a year later? "I remembered something," I said slowly. "You told me to run, to take Isla and leave." Her eyes widened. For just a moment, I saw something in them, calculation, worry, and something else I couldn't name. Then her expression smoothed into concern. "Did I?" she asked softly. I don't remember that. But if I did, perhaps I knew something was wrong. Perhaps I was trying to protect you. Or perhaps you were getting me to leave, so you could take my place." The words came out before I could stop them, sharp and accusatory. Meridian's face went pale. "How could you say that?" "Celeste, I would never." "You're Luna now," I interrupted. "You are the title I apparently left behind. You stand it there inside. You have everything that was mine." "I never wanted it," she hissed, and for the first time, real emotion cracked through her perfect mask. "Do you think I enjoyed watching Theron grieve for you? Watching him refuse to touch me, refuse to even look at me as anything but a replacement?" Her voice dropped, becoming almost vulnerable. "I loved you, Celeste. You were my sister. And when you vanished, a part of me died, too." She sounded sincere. She looked sincere. But something in my gut screamed that it was all a performance. "Then help me," I said. "Help me remember what really happened." Meridian studied me for a long moment, something unreadable moving behind her eyes. Then she nodded slowly. "There's something you should know," she said carefully. "The night you disappeared, you and Theron had a terrible fight." My heart stuttered. "About what?" "About having another child. Theron wanted one, but you refused. You said one was enough, that you couldn't risk it. She paused. He accused you of not trusting him to protect your family. You accused him of not understanding your fears. The words felt like poison sliding into my bloodstream. Are you saying I left because of a fight? I'm saying you were upset, vulnerable, and someone took advantage of that. Her gaze held mine. The council is going to ask about this tonight. They're going to question whether you left willingly. There it was. The real reason for her visit. Not friendship or concern, but a warning. Or a threat. Why are you telling me this? I asked. Because I want you to be prepared. She moved toward the door, then paused. Celeste, I know you don't trust me. I don't blame you, you don't remember our friendship. But please, be careful tonight. There are wolves on the council who never wanted you as Luna, who thought you were too young, too weak. They'll use anything they can against you. She left before I could respond, her scent lingering behind her. Lavender, perfume, and beneath it all, the unmistakable bitter tang of wolfsbane. I stood there alone, my mind spinning. Tonight, I will face the council. Tonight, I would have to prove I was the Luna they'd lost, even though I couldn't prove it to myself. And somewhere in the shadows, someone who'd stolen my life was watching, waiting to see if I'd fall. I wouldn't. I couldn't, because I had Isla to protect. And this time, I wouldn't let anyone take her from me. Meridian plants doubt like seeds in poisoned soil. Is she a friend trying to help, or an enemy playing a longer game? Drop your theories below. Who do you think is telling the truth? Chapter 5. The council chamber was designed to intimidate. Circular walls of black granite rose toward a domed ceiling, painted with constellations I should have recognized, but didn't. 12 high-backed chairs carved from ancient wood circled the room, each one occupied by a wolf whose expression ranged from curious to openly hostile. Torches burned in silver sconces, casting dancing shadows that made everything feel unstable, uncertain. I stood in the center with Theron at my side, and Isla pressed against my leg. The little girl's hand gripped my dress so tightly I could feel her trembling. I wanted to pick her up, shield her from the judgment in these wolves' eyes, but I needed to appear strong. Confidence, even if I felt neither. Lady Meridian sat among the council members, her posture perfect, her expression carefully neutral. But I caught the way her eyes tracked my every movement, calculating, measuring. The eldest council member rose, a gray-bearded wolf named Counselor Bram, whose scent spoke of age and authority. He studied me with sharp eyes that missed nothing. 3 years ago, he began, his voice carrying through the chamber, our Luna vanished without a trace. Supreme Alpha Theron searched the realm, burned through alliances, waged wars trying to find her. He paused. And now you appear, claiming to be Celeste Nightshade, returned from the dead. I'm not claiming anything, I said, keeping my voice steady. I don't remember being your Luna. I don't remember this place. All I know is that Theron recognized me, his wolf recognized me, and I was found in chains in a dungeon with our daughter. Convenient, a sharp-featured woman to Bram's left said. Her nameplate read Counselor Vera. You remember nothing that could be verified, yet you expect us to simply accept that you're the true Luna? My wolf knows his mate, Theron growled, his dominance pressing against the room like a physical force. That should be enough. With respect, Your Majesty, Bram said carefully, mate bonds can be complicated.
Especially when magic is involved.
We need more concrete proof. What kind of proof? I asked. Vera leaned forward, her smile sharp as broken glass. Tell us about your life here. Your duties as Luna. Your relationship with the Supreme Alpha. Anything that proves you're not simply an imposter using dark magic to deceive us all. The trap was obvious. If I couldn't answer, I proved I wasn't Celeste. If I tried to answer based on what others had told me, they'd know I was guessing. I can't, I admitted. My memories were taken from me, suppressed by dark magic according to your healer. How convenient, Vera repeated, her tone dripping with disdain. Convenient. I stepped forward, anger sparking in my chest. You think it's convenient to wake up with no past? No identity? To look at your own daughter and not remember giving birth to her. My voice cracked. To see your supposed mate and feel nothing but confusion and guilt because you can't remember loving him? The chamber fell silent. Several council members shifted uncomfortably. Theron's hand found mine, squeezing gently. His touch steadied me. There is a way to verify the truth, Meridian said softly, standing. All eyes turned to her. The moonstone of truth. Several council members gasped. Bram's expression darkened. You can't be serious, he said. What is it? I asked. Theron's grip on my hand tightened. An ancient artifact. It forces absolute honesty from anyone who touches it. His jaw clenched. But it's dangerous. The process is painful. How painful? It digs into your mind, Meridian explained, her voice gentle. Pull your deepest memories to the surface. Every truth, every secret, every buried thought becomes exposed. She looked at me with what seemed like genuine concern. It's especially brutal for someone whose memories have been magically suppressed. The stone will try to break through that suppression and the pain. She didn't need to finish. I understood. I'll do it, I said immediately. Celeste, no, Theron started. I have to. I turned to face him. They won't accept me otherwise. And I swallowed hard. I need to know the truth too. I need to remember. The moonstone could kill you if the magical suppression is strong enough, he said, desperation creeping into his voice. I just got you back. I won't lose you again. You won't lose me, I promised, though I had no idea if I could keep that promise. But I can't live like this. Half a person, half a Luna, half a mother. If there's a chance to remember, to truly come home, I have to take it. Theron looked like he wanted to argue, to forbid it, to lock me away somewhere safe. But he also knew I was right. I'll be with you, he said finally. Every second. Bram stood, gesturing to the guards. Bring the moonstone. They returned carrying a wooden box carved with protective runes. When they opened it, silvery light spilled out, and I felt my wolf recoil instinctively. The stone itself was beautiful, roughly the size of an apple, perfectly smooth, and glowing with internal light that pulsed like a heartbeat. But something about it felt wrong. Hungry. The process is simple, Bram explained. You hold the stone. I ask questions. The stone compels you to answer truthfully, and if you speak truth, it glows white. If you lie, it burns red. And the pain, I asked, comes from the stone forcing you to access memories you've lost or buried. He looked at me seriously. Are you certain you want to do this? I looked at Isla, clinging to my side. At Theron, his eyes filled with fear and pride. At the council members watching, judging, deciding our fate. I'm certain. They led me to a raised platform in the center of the chamber. A chair waited there, simple, unadorned, but somehow ominous. I sat, and immediately attendants began fastening leather straps around my wrists and ankles. Why the restraints? I asked, fear creeping into my voice. The pain can cause violent reactions, Theron said tightly. He knelt beside the chair, taking my face in his hands. Listen to me. If it becomes too much, if you need it to stop, just say the word. I'll end this. Council be damned. I can do this, I said, trying to sound braver than I felt. He pressed his forehead to mine. I know you can. You're the strongest wolf I've ever known. The attendants finished with the straps. Bram approached, carrying the moonstone with reverent care. Last chance to refuse, he said. Give it to me. He placed the stone in my palm. The world exploded. Pain lanced through my skull like lightning, white-hot and all-consuming. The chamber disappeared. Theron's voice calling my name faded. Everything vanished except the agony and the light. Then the memories came. They slammed into me like physical blows, fragmented, chaotic, overwhelming. Theron's face above mine, younger, smiling. Theron Nightshade, accept you, Celeste Ravencrest, as my mate, my Luna, my forever. Holding Isla as a newborn, counting her tiny fingers, marveling at the miracle of her existence. Running through forests with my pack, my wolf is free and wild and powerful. Training with Meridian, laughing as she knocked me on my ass for the third time that day. You're too slow, Luna. Again, standing before the pack, accepting their loyalty, feeling the weight of leadership settle on my shoulders. Happy memories, beautiful memories, but they hurt. Gods, they hurt. Each one felt like broken glass pressing through my consciousness. Then the memories darkened. Arguing with Theron, tears streaming down my face. I can't lose another child. I won't. Another? His confusion. Celeste, what are you talking about? Nothing. I'm afraid. Meridian's hand on my shoulder, her voice soothing. It's okay to be scared, but you can't let fear control you. Late at night, pacing our chambers while Theron slept. My wolf restless, agitated, sensing something wrong but unable to identify the threat. Meridian finding me in the halls. You need to sleep, Celeste. You're wearing yourself down. Something's coming, I whispered. I can feel it. Nothing's coming. You're safe here. We're all safe. But I hadn't been safe. None of us had been. The memory shifted violently, and suddenly I was in my chambers, late at night. Someone knocked softly at the door. Meridian slipped inside, her face pale and frightened. Celeste, you have to leave. Right now.
What?
Why? There's a plot. Wolves from the Iron Fang pack. They're coming for Isla. They want to use her to control Theron. We need to tell Theron. There's no time. They're already inside the fortress. I'll hold them off, but you need to run. Take Isla and go to the safe house in the northern woods. I'll bring Theron when it's safe. I didn't question her. Why would I? She was my best friend, my sister in everything but blood. I trusted her completely. I gathered Isla, wrapped her in blankets, slipped through the secret passages Meridian had shown me, and walked straight into the trap. Wolves surrounded us the moment we cleared the tree line. Not Iron Fang. I realized that immediately. These wolves wore no pack colors, smelled of wolfsbane and dark magic. Run, baby, I screamed at Isla, shifting partially, buying her time to escape. But there were too many. They overwhelmed me, silver nets burning my skin, wolfsbane poisoning my system. The last thing I saw before darkness took me was Isla running into the forest, her little legs carrying her away from the violence. Good. At least my daughter was safe. At least Meridian would find her, protect her. At least, the memory is fractured. Pain unlike anything I'd ever experienced tore through my mind. The magical suppression Meridian had placed on me fought against the Moonstone's power, two opposing forces ripping my consciousness apart. I screamed. Distantly, I heard Theron roaring, heard Isla crying, heard council members shouting. But I couldn't stop. Not now. Not when I was so close to the truth. I pushed deeper into the memories, clawing through the magical barriers, and found what had been hidden. Waking in the fortress dungeon, silver cuffs already on my wrists. Garrick standing over me with a cruel smile. Welcome to your new home, Luna. Where's my daughter? What did you do with Isla? The child? Lady Meridian assured us she'd take good care of her. The name hit me like a physical blow.
What? No.
Meridian wouldn't. Wouldn't betray her best friend? Wouldn't arrange for you to disappear so she could take your place. He laughed. You wolves are so predictable. Always trusting, always naive. You're lying. Am I? He pulled out a letter written in Meridian's elegant hand. I could only read the first line before rage and horror blinded me. When Celeste is secured, bring the child to me. She's worth more alive as leverage. The moonstone flared brilliant white. Truth. All of it was true. The memories kept coming, faster now, brutal in their clarity. A year in the dungeon, being tortured, broken, my memories slowly erased by a witch Meridian had hired. Then Isla arrived, looking confused and terrified. Mama? Where are we? Meridian had taken her. Just like she'd taken me. Just like she'd taken everything. And through it all, She'd stood beside Theron, playing the concerned friend, the reluctant Luna, waiting for him to finally accept her as his mate. I gasped, returning to the council chamber. The moonstone fell from my hand, its job complete. Every eye in the room was fixed on me. Theron's face was white with fury. And Meridian. Meridian stood frozen, her carefully constructed mask completely shattered, naked fear written across her features. "It was you," I whispered, my voice hoarse from screaming. "You arranged everything. The kidnapping, the torture, the memory suppression. You took my daughter to use as leverage against Theron." "That's absurd," Meridian said, but her voice shook. "The stone, it can be manipulated." "The moonstone cannot be manipulated," Bram said coldly. "Everyone knows this." Theron was on his feet, his wolf barely contained beneath his skin. "Is it true?" he demanded. "Did you betray us?" Meridian's eyes darted around the room, looking for escape, for support. Finding neither. "I did it for you," she whispered desperately. "Theron, please, you have to understand. Celeste wasn't right for you. She was weak, fearful, holding you back. I could have made you so much stronger." "You touched my mate," Theron said, his voice deadly calm. "You took my daughter. You tortured them for years." "I didn't mean for it to go that far," Meridian pleaded. "I just wanted you to see that I was better for you, that we could rule together. But then you refused to move on, refused to accept me as anything more than a placeholder." "Guards," Theron commanded. "Seize her." Meridian's composure cracked completely. She bolted for the door, but Theron was faster. He caught her by the throat, lifting her off the ground with one hand. "Give me one reason," he snarled, "why I shouldn't kill you right now." "The blood oath," I said, suddenly remembering. She made a blood oath. She swore not to kill Isla or me as long as I stayed away from the fortress. Theron's eyes widened. "A blood oath can't be broken without consequence. Which is why we're still alive," I said bitterly. "She couldn't kill us herself, but she could make us suffer, could make us wish we were dead." Meridian struggled in Theron's grip, tears streaming down her face. "Please," she choked out. "I loved you. I still love you." "You don't know the meaning of the word," Theron said coldly. He threw her to the guards. "Chain her. Silver and Wolfsbane. She'll face judgment tomorrow." As they dragged her away, Meridian's eyes found mine. And in them, I saw not remorse, but pure, burning hatred. "This isn't over," she hissed. "The oath prevents me from killing you, but there are worse things than death, Celeste. You'll see. You'll." A guard struck her, silencing her threats. They hauled her from the chamber, leaving stunned silence in their wake. Bram cleared his throat.
"Well,
"I believe we have our answer about Lady Celeste's identity."
He bowed deeply.
"Welcome home, Luna." The other council members echoed the gesture, all except Vera, who looked disappointed that I'd survived. But I didn't care about their acceptance. I only cared about the two faces staring at me with different expressions, Theron with pride and love and grief, Isla with confusion and hope. I opened my arms, and they both ran to me. We collapsed together, holding each other as years of pain and separation finally began to heal. The truth is a weapon that cuts both ways. Meridian's betrayal is exposed, but her final threat lingers like poison in the air. What do you think she meant? Comment your theories below. Chapter 6. The days following Meridian's arrest passed in a strange blur of recovery and rediscovery. My memories had returned, but they felt like someone else's life. Beautiful moments viewed through glass, distant and untouchable. I knew intellectually that I'd loved Theron, that I'd ruled this pack, that I'd been happy here. But feeling it, truly feeling it, was different. It was like learning to walk again, after years of paralysis. Mira worked with me daily, helping my body heal from the silver poisoning. Each morning brought more strength, more clarity. My wolf grew stronger too, pressing closer to the surface, eager to finally break free after years of suppression. "Another week," Mira promised as she examined me on the 4th morning. "Maybe less. Then you'll be able to shift again." The thought both thrilled and terrified me. I hadn't felt my wolf fully present since before the kidnapping. What if I'd forgotten how? What if the torture had broken something fundamental inside me? Theron found me on the balcony that afternoon, staring out at the training grounds where wolves sparred and ran drills. He approached carefully, always giving me space, never assuming I wanted his touch just because I used to. "You're thinking too loud," he said softly, coming to stand beside me. I smiled despite myself. "Is that possible? With you? Always." He leaned against the railing, watching the warriors below. "You used to do this, stand here and watch them train. You said it helped you think." What did I think about? Everything. Pack politics, supply chains, who was sleeping with whom, and causing drama. He glanced at me. "You were brilliant at it. Seeing patterns no one else noticed, solving problems before they became crises." "I don't feel brilliant now," I admitted. "I feel like a stranger wearing someone else's crown." Theron was quiet for a moment. Then he said something that surprised me. "Good." I turned to face him. "Good. You're not the same Celeste who was taken 3 years ago," he said. "You survived things that would have destroyed most wolves. You protected our daughter in circumstances I can barely imagine. You're stronger now, harder." His eyes met mine. "And I meant what I said. I'll love whoever you've become." My throat tightened. What if I never feel the same way I did before? What if those feelings are just gone? Pain flickered across his face, but he didn't look away. "Then we start over. Build something new." He reached out slowly, giving me time to refuse, and tucked a strand of hair behind my ear. "I'd rather have you here, not remembering how you loved me, than spend the rest of my life without you." The gentleness in his touch, the acceptance in his words, something warm bloomed in my chest. Not the overwhelming mate bond one remembered from my restored memories, but something real nonetheless. A beginning. "Thank you," I whispered. "For what?" "For not demanding I be who I was. For letting me figure out who I am now." He smiled, and it transformed his entire face. "That's all I've ever wanted, for you to be exactly who you are." A commotion below interrupted the moment. Guards rushed across the training grounds toward the main gates. Theron's expression sharpened immediately. "Stay here," he commanded, already moving toward the door. Not a chance. I followed him, ignoring his protest. We reached the great hall just as the guards dragged in 3 wolves I didn't recognize. They were bloodied, beaten, barely conscious. But what caught my attention was their scent. Underneath the blood and fear, they smelled of wolfsbane and dark magic. Just like the wolves who'd taken me. Theron's growl vibrated through the hall. "Where did you find them?" "At the border, Your Majesty," the lead guard reported. "They were trying to infiltrate the fortress." "We weren't infiltrating," one of the captives rasped. "We came with a message." "From whom?" Theron demanded. The wolf's lips curved into a broken smile. "From the one you chained. Lady Meridian sends her regards." Ice flooded my veins. "She's in the dungeon." "How could she?" "Blood oath," the wolf interrupted, coughing blood. "She can't kill you herself. But she never promised she wouldn't send others to do it." Theron moved with deadly speed, lifting the wolf by his throat. "Where are the others? How many did she send?" "Enough," the wolf choked out. "They're already inside your fortress, Nightshade. Already moving into position. And when they strike..." He never finished. His body convulsed, foam gathering at his lips. Poison. He'd bitten down on something hidden in his mouth. The other 2 captives died the same way before anyone could stop them, taking whatever information they had with them. Theron roared orders immediately. Lockdown. Seal every entrance. Guards to every vulnerable point. Find those infiltrators. Chaos erupted. Warriors scrambled to obey, voices shouting, boots pounding against stone. Theron grabbed my arm. "I need to coordinate the defense. Go to our chambers, bar the door, and don't open it for anyone except me or Mira." "What about Isla?" Panic clawed at my throat. "She's in the nursery, with 3 guards. I'll have them bring her to you." "Theron. Please, Celeste." His eyes were desperate. "I just got you back. I can't lose you again. Not to her. Not to anyone. I wanted to argue, to insist I could fight, that I was Luna and should stand with my pack. But the truth was I was still weak. Still recovering. I'd be a liability in a battle. Okay, I agreed. But you better come back to me. He pulled me close, kissing me hard and fast. Always. Then he was gone, shouting orders, organizing defenses. I ran toward our chambers, my heart hammering. The fortress felt different now, every shadow a potential threat, every sound a possible attack. I'd just reached the corridor leading to our rooms when I heard it, Isla's scream. Everything in me went cold, then burning hot. I sprinted toward the nursery, my weakened body protesting every step. The guards should have been taking her to safety. Why was she still there? Why was she screaming? I burst through the nursery door and froze. 3 wolves, strangers in dark clothing, had Isla cornered. One held a knife, another a rope, the third blocking the door. The guards who should have been protecting her lay motionless on the floor, throats slit. Isla saw me and cried out, "Mama." The wolf with the knife grinned.
Well, well.
This just got easier. Rage exploded through me, white hot and absolute. My wolf surged forward, stronger than she'd been in years, fed by pure maternal fury. "Get away from my daughter," I snarled. "Or what?" the wolf taunted. "You can't even shift yet. You're weak, broken." I moved. Even without my wolf's full strength, even with silver poisoning still in my system, I was still a Luna. Still trained. Still deadly when my child was threatened. I grabbed the nearest weapon, a heavy candlestick, and swung it at the wolf's head. He dodged, but I'd expected that. My real target was his knee. The candlestick connected with a satisfying crunch. He dropped, howling. The second wolf lunged at me. I ducked under his attack, drove my elbow into his ribs, and when he doubled over, brought my knee up into his face. But the third wolf was faster, stronger. He caught me from behind, arm around my throat, cutting off my air. "Stop fighting," he hissed in my ear. "Lady Meridian wants you alive," but she didn't say undamaged. Black spots danced in my vision. My wolf thrashed inside me, desperate, furious. Then Isla did something that changed everything. She shifted. I'd never seen her shift before. She'd been too young when she was taken, too weak in the dungeon. But now, fed by fear and rage and love, her wolf burst forth. She was small, barely more than a pup, her fur the same silver gray as mine. But her teeth were sharp, and when she sank them into the wolf's leg, he screamed. His grip on me loosened. I broke free, gasping, and grabbed the knife from the first wolf's belt. No hesitation. No mercy. I drove the blade into the third wolf's throat. He dropped, gurgling, and I spun to face the other 2. One was unconscious from my earlier attack. The other stared at me with wide, terrified eyes. "Run," I told him coldly. "And tell Meridian this. Every wolf she sends, I'll kill. Every threat she makes, I'll answer. She wanted to take everything from me. Now I'm going to take everything from her." He ran. I dropped the knife, my hands shaking, and fell to my knees. Isla shifted back, naked and crying, and threw herself into my arms. "You're okay," I whispered, holding her tight. "You're okay, baby girl. I've got you." "I was so scared," she sobbed. "But then I got angry, and my wolf came, and—" "You were so brave," I interrupted. "So incredibly brave. Your first shift, and you used it to protect yourself. I'm so proud of you." Footsteps pounded in the corridor. Theron burst through the door with a dozen warriors behind him, then stopped dead at the scene. 3 enemy wolves down, blood on the floor, and Isla safe in my arms. His eyes found mine, and I saw his wolf right there at the surface, wild with protective fury. "They came for her," I said, my voice hard. "Meridian sent them to take Isla." Theron's expression went absolutely arctic. He turned to his warriors. "Find the rest. Show no mercy." Then to another group. "Double the guards in the dungeon. If Meridian so much as breathes wrong, I want to know about it." They rushed to obey. Theron knelt beside us, checking Isla for injuries with gentle, shaking hands. "Are you hurt?" "No, Papa," Isla said, and the word made his breath catch. She'd called him Papa. For the first time since he'd found us, she'd claimed him as her father. His eyes glistened, but he blinked the tears away. "Good. That's good." He looked at me. "You killed one of them. I'd kill 1,000 more if they threatened her." Something fierce and proud blazed in his expression. "That's my Luna." Over the next hour, the warriors found and eliminated the remaining infiltrators. 7 in total, all bearing Meridian's orders. All sent to either kidnap or kill Isla and me. The blood oath prevented Meridian from doing it herself, but she'd found a loophole, sending others to do her dirty work. By evening, the fortress was secure again. But the attack had changed something fundamental. I'd spent days feeling like a ghost in my own life, uncertain of my place, my strength, my right to be here. Not anymore. When I walked into the council chamber that night, covered in enemy blood, carrying my daughter, with Theron at my side, every wolf in the room bowed deeply. Because they'd heard what I'd done. How I'd killed to protect my child. How I'd made Luna's promise, touch my family, and die. The infiltration was neutralized, Theron announced to the council. 7 wolves sent by Meridian to finish what she started. His voice dropped to something deadly. Tomorrow, she faces final judgment. And this time, there will be no mercy. Bram stood, his expression grim. "With respect, Your Majesty, the blood oath complicates execution. If she dies, the oath's magic could rebound on Luna and the child. Then we make her wish for death," I said quietly. Every eye turned to me. I stepped forward, Isla still in my arms, and spoke with a voice that carried the weight of 3 years of suffering. Meridian wanted to be Luna. I wanted the power, the respect, the love of the pack. I smiled, cold and sharp. So we took it from her. Strip her of her title, her lands, her name. Make her an Omega, the lowest rank in our hierarchy. Then we exile her to the harshest territory we control, where she'll spend the rest of her miserable life alone, forgotten and powerless. Silence fell. Then Theron spoke, his voice filled with dark satisfaction. "A fate worse than death." "Exactly," I said. "She wanted to erase me, to make me nothing. Now she gets to know exactly how that feels." Bram considered this, then nodded slowly. "The council will vote on this sentence tomorrow, but I believe it will pass unanimously." As we left the chamber, Theron pulled me close. "Welcome back, Luna," he whispered. "I've missed you." And for the first time since my memories returned, I didn't feel like I was playing a role or filling someone else's shoes. I felt like myself, stronger, harder, and ready to fight for everything that was mine. Meridian's plan backfired spectacularly. The Luna she tried to destroy just became more dangerous. But something tells me this story isn't over yet. What do you think Meridian will do next? Drop your predictions below. Chapter 7. The Judgment Chamber was packed. Every wolf in the fortress who could fit had crowded in to witness Meridian's final reckoning. The air buzzed with tension and anticipation. Some wanted blood, others wanted justice, but everyone wanted to see the wolf who'd betrayed their Luna brought low. I stood at Theron's side on the raised dais, Isla between us holding both our hands. The little girl had barely left my side since the attack yesterday, her new wolf restless and protective beneath her skin. I didn't blame her. My own wolf prowled just beneath the surface, waiting. The council sat in their ceremonial positions, faces grave. Even Counselor Vera, who doubted me initially, now wore an expression of cold fury. Betraying Luna was betraying the entire pack, an unforgivable sin. Heavy doors opened with a groan of iron. Guards dragged Meridian in. She looked nothing like the elegant, composed woman who'd sat among the council just days ago. Her red hair hung lank and tangled around her face. Her dress was torn and stained. Silver chains bound her wrists and ankles, burning her skin wherever they touched. But it was her eyes that showed the real change. Gone was the calculated coldness, replaced by desperate, feral fear. She knew what was coming. They forced her to her knees in the center of the chamber. She tried to keep her chin up, tried to maintain some dignity, but when her gaze found mine, something inside her crumbled. "Please," she whispered. "Celeste, please. We were friends once."
Sisters.
That meant something, didn't it? "It did," I said, my voice carrying through the chamber. "Which makes your betrayal even worse." Bram stood, unrolling an official-looking scroll. "Lady Meridian Ashford, you stand accused of the following crimes: conspiracy to kidnap the Luna and her child, arranging the torture and imprisonment of said Luna and child, usurping the Luna's position through deception, and attempting murder through hired assassins." He paused. "How do you plead?" For a moment, I thought Meridian might try to deny it, might fabricate some final lie to save herself. But the Moonstone's truth still hung in the air between us, undeniable. "Guilty," she whispered. "Of all of it." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Even though everyone knew the truth, hearing her admit it was different. "However," she continued, her voice growing stronger, "I did it out of love. Everything I did was because I loved Theron, loved this pack." Celeste was weak. She was afraid of her own shadow, paranoid about threats that didn't exist. She would have destroyed everything we built. Her eyes found Theron. "You know I'm right. Deep down, you know she wasn't strong enough to stand beside you." "You're wrong," Theron said quietly. His voice was calm, but I felt the rage vibrating beneath his skin. Celeste was never weak. She was compassionate, careful, thoughtful, qualities you clearly lack. He stepped forward. "And even if she had been weak, even if she'd been the worst Luna in history, she was mine. My mate. My choice. You had no right to take her from me." "I had every right." Meridian snarled, her composure finally shattering completely. "I worked for years to be perfect for you. I trained harder than anyone, learned politics and strategy, made myself into exactly what a supreme alpha needed. And what did you do? You chose some soft-hearted girl who cried over injured animals and wrote poetry about the moon." "Yes," Theron said simply.
"I did.
"And I'd choose her 1,000 times over you." The words hit Meridian like a physical blow. She staggered, even on her knees, as if his rejection had finally become real. "You're a fool," she spat. "Both of you. You think this is over? You think chaining me in silver and passing judgment will fix anything?" Her laugh was bitter, broken. "The damage is done. Celeste will never be the Luna she was. She's been broken, reshaped by pain and darkness. And you, Theron, you'll spend the rest of your life wondering if she's staying because she wants to or because she feels obligated." "Enough," I said, stepping forward. Isla's hand tightened in mine, but I gently extracted myself and approached Meridian. "You want to know if I'm broken? If the Luna you tried to destroy still exists?" I knelt so we were eye to eye. "You're right about one thing," I said quietly. "I'm not the same Celeste you knew. The wolf you betrayed was softer, kinder, more trusting." I leaned closer. "But the wolf you created is something you should fear. Because I've learned what it's like to have everything stripped away. I've learned to survive on nothing but will and rage. I've learned that kindness is a choice, not a weakness, and I choose it, except when it comes to you." Meridian's breath came faster, panic creeping into her expression. "The council has voted," Bram announced. "Unanimously, we find you guilty of all charges. The sentence, as proposed by Luna Celeste, is as follows. You will be stripped of your title, your lands, your family name. You will be reduced to Omega status, the lowest rank in our hierarchy. And you will be exiled to the Ash Wastes, where you will spend the remainder of your days in solitude and servitude." "No," Meridian breathed. "No, you can't. Exile to the Ash Wastes is a death sentence." "Not quite," I said. "The Ash Wastes have a small outpost. You'll work there tending to travelers, cleaning, serving. You'll be fed enough to survive, clothed enough to function. But you'll be alone, Meridian. No friends, no allies, no one who remembers Lady Meridian Ashford." I smiled without warmth. Just an Omega with no name, no past, and no future. Everything you tried to do to me. Please, Meridian sobbed. Please, just kill me. Execution would be kinder. I know, I said. That's why you're not getting it. 2 guards hauled her to her feet. But before they could drag her away, Meridian's eyes found mine one last time. And what I saw there chilled my blood. Not remorse, not defeat, but cold, calculating hatred. You think you've won, she said, her voice dropping to a whisper only I could hear. But the blood oath protects you only from me. And there are others, Celeste. Others who want what you have. Others who will finish what I started. Is that a threat? It's a promise. Her lips curved into a broken smile. Enjoy your victory while it lasts. Because darkness is coming for you, Luna. And this time, you won't survive it. Before I could respond, the guards dragged her from the chamber. Her screams echoed through the halls until a door slammed shut, silencing them. Theron was at my side immediately. What did she say to you? I wanted to tell him, to share the threat. But when I looked around the chamber, at the pack members celebrating, at Isla smiling for the first time in days, at the relief and joy on her face, I couldn't bring myself to ruin this moment. Nothing important, I lied. Just the desperate words of a defeated enemy. He studied me for a moment, clearly not convinced, but let it go. The celebration that followed was massive. Pack members who'd mourned their lost Luna now rejoiced in her return. Music filled the great hall. Food and drink flowed freely. Wolves danced and laughed and told stories about the old days, helping me fill in gaps in my memory. I smiled and thanked them, and Luna returned triumphant. But Meridian's words haunted me like a curse. Others who want what you have. Darkness is coming. Later that night, after Isla had finally fallen asleep in our chambers and the celebrations had died down, I found myself on the balcony again, staring at the moon. Theron joined me, wrapping a blanket around my shoulders. You're thinking too loud again. It's becoming a habit, I admitted. Talk to me, he said gently. What did Meridian really say? I hesitated, then told him everything. His expression darkened with each word. She's trying to scare you, he said when I finished. To maintain some power, even in defeat. What if she's not? I turned to face him. Theron, she orchestrated my kidnapping, arranged for a witch to suppress my memories, manipulated the entire council. She didn't do all that alone. Someone helped her. Someone funded her. Someone wanted you gone, he finished grimly. I've been thinking the same thing. Relief flooded through me. So, I'm not paranoid? No, you're being smart. He pulled me close. Tomorrow, I'll start investigating. Quietly. We'll find out if Meridian had allies, and if she did, we'll eliminate them. And if it's someone on the council? His expression went hard. Then the council will have one less member. I leaned into him, letting his warmth and strength steady me. For so long, I'd been alone in the darkness, fighting to survive, to protect Isla. Having someone to share the burden felt foreign and wonderful. I'm glad you found us, I whispered. I'm glad you survived, he replied. I'm glad you fought. I'm glad you came home. Home, I repeated, testing the word. It didn't feel foreign anymore. Didn't feel like a lie. This fortress, this pack, this man, they were home. Maybe not the same home I'd left 3 years ago, but something new. Something earned through suffering and survival and choice. Theron? Yes. When this is over, when we've found all of Meridian's allies and eliminated every threat, I want to do something. What? I want to go back to that fortress where we were held. The one in the mountains. My hands clenched into fists, and I want to burn it to the ground. Every stone, every chain, every cell where innocent wolves suffered. I want to erase it from existence. He was quiet for a moment. Then, we'll do it together. You, me, and every wolf who is imprisoned there. We'll give them that closure. Promise. Promise. We stood there in the moonlight, 2 broken wolves learning to be whole again, while somewhere in the distance, Meridian traveled toward her exile and unknown enemies plotted in shadows. But for tonight, we had this peace, safety, family. Tomorrow would bring new battles. Tomorrow we'd hunt down threats and secure our future. But tonight, we simply held each other and remembered what we were fighting for. The next morning, I woke to Myra's excited voice and gentle shaking. Luna, Luna, wake up. I bolted upright, immediately reaching for Isla. She was still asleep beside me, safe and sound. What is it? What's wrong? Nothing's wrong, Mira said, her smile wide. Everything's right. Your blood work came back clean, completely clean. The silver poisoning is gone. The wolfsbane is flushed from your system. Her eyes sparkled.
You can shift again, Celeste.
Your wolf is free. The words took a moment to register. Then joy, pure, overwhelming joy, flooded through me. My wolf surged in response, eager, ecstatic, ready to run after years of imprisonment.
Now,
I asked breathlessly. Whenever you're ready, Mira confirmed. I looked at Isla, still sleeping peacefully. At Theron, who'd woken at the commotion and was watching me with pride and love. Come with me, I said to him. Both of you. I want you there when I shift for the first time in years. We dressed quickly and made our way to the forest beyond the fortress walls. Dawn was just breaking, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink. The air smelled of pine and earth and freedom. Isla clung to my hand, excited and nervous. Will it hurt, Mama? No, baby, I assured her. It'll feel like coming home. I closed my eyes, reaching for my wolf. For years, she'd been trapped, suppressed, buried beneath silver and magic.
But now
she was free. The shift came easier than breathing. My bones rearranged, my muscles expanded, fur rippled across my skin. And then I was standing on 4 legs instead of 2, seeing the world through wolf eyes, feeling truly complete for the first time in years. I was massive, larger than I remembered being, my fur silver gray like moonlight on water. Power thrummed through every muscle, wild and perfect. Isla squealed with delight. Mama, you're beautiful. Theron shifted beside me, his wolf dark as midnight and twice my size. He pressed his muzzle against mine, a gesture of affection and recognition. Welcome back, his wolf seemed to say. And for the first time in 3 years, my wolf answered, I'm home. We ran, through forests and across clearings, past streams and over fallen logs. Isla shifted and joined us, her small silver form darting between us with puppy-like enthusiasm. We ran until my muscles burned and my lungs ached, and my heart felt like it might burst from pure joy. We ran until I remembered what freedom tasted like. And when we finally stopped, panting and exhilarated, in a meadow filled with wildflowers, I looked at my family, my mate, my daughter, my pack, and knew with absolute certainty. Whatever darkness was coming, whatever enemies lurked in the shadows, we would face it together. And we would win. Because I was Celeste Nightshade, Luna of the Silver Moon Pack. I had survived torture, betrayal, and attempts to erase my very existence. I had died and come back stronger. And nothing would take my family from me again. Meridian is exiled, but her warning echoes like a prophecy. Celeste finally runs free, but new threats lurk in the shadows. What do you think is coming next? Share your thoughts below. The final chapter is almost here. Chapter 8. 3 months passed like a dream I was afraid to wake from. Spring transformed the fortress and its surrounding lands. Flowers bloomed in wild profusion, trees burst into green life, and the whole world seemed to celebrate our survival. I threw myself into my Luna duties with a passion that surprised even me, settling disputes, organizing supply lines, training with the warriors, rebuilding everything Meridian's lies had damaged. But more importantly, I was rebuilding myself. My relationship with Theron grew slowly, carefully, like a plant reaching toward sunlight. We didn't rush into the mate bond's intensity, didn't force feelings that needed time to develop naturally. Instead, we learned from each other again. Morning walks in the garden, late-night conversations about pack politics and childhood memories, stolen moments of laughter over Isla's latest antics. He courted me like we were meeting for the first time. brought me flowers from the meadow where we'd first run together, left notes in my study with terrible poetry that made me laugh, took Isla and me on picnics where we'd talk about nothing and everything. And slowly, carefully, my heart remembered what my mind had forgotten. I loved this man. Maybe differently than before, maybe with more caution and awareness of how precious love was, but deeply, truly, completely. Isla blossomed too. No longer the terrified child from the dungeon, she trained with the other young wolves, made friends, and laughed freely. She still had nightmares sometimes, we both did, but they grew less frequent as safety became familiar again. She called Theron Papa without hesitation now, climbed into his lap for stories, and demanded he watch her practice shifting. And when I saw them together, saw the pure love in his eyes when he looked at our daughter, my heart felt too full to contain. But beneath the healing and happiness, I couldn't forget Meridian's warning. Others who want what you have. Darkness is coming. Theron's investigation turned up concerning information. Several high-ranking wolves from other packs had made unusual financial transactions around the time of my kidnapping. Messages had been intercepted suggesting a coalition of alphas who feared Theron's growing power and influence. My removal hadn't been just about Meridian's jealousy, it had been political. We have names, Theron told me one evening in his study, spreading documents across his desk. 5 alphas from neighboring territories, all of whom stood to gain if you disappeared, and I was weakened by grief. I studied the names, committing them to memory. What do we do? Carefully, he said. We can't act without proof. But we watch them, monitor their activities, and wait for them to make a move. And if they don't, his smile was sharp. Then we make them think we've dropped our guard. We give them an opportunity too good to resist. Bait. I realized. You want to use me as bait. Never. His expression hardened. I'd never risk you like that. But I'm willing, I said firmly. Theron, these wolves helped destroy our lives. They funded my torture, Isla's kidnapping. They need to pay. And they will, he promised. But not at the cost of losing you again. We argued about it for hours. Me insisting I could help, him refusing to consider it. Finally, we compromised. We'd attend the Grand Council meeting in 2 weeks, where all the regional alphas gathered. There, surrounded by witnesses and allies, we'd watch for suspicious behavior and gather evidence. It wasn't the aggressive action I wanted, but it was a start. The day before we were set to leave for the Grand Council, Mira came to me with news that changed everything. You're pregnant, she said, her smile wide and delighted. I stared at her, the words not quite processing. What? About 6 weeks along, I'd estimate. Your scent changed, that's what made me test. She squeezed my hand. Congratulations, Luna. Pregnant. I was pregnant. Joy and terror warred inside me. Another child. Another chance that the family Meridian had tried to destroy. But also another vulnerability, another target for enemies who wanted to hurt us. Does Theron know? Mira asked. Not yet, I whispered. I need to think about how to tell him. I spent the day in a daze, my hand unconsciously drifting to my still flat stomach. A baby, growing inside me, completely unaware of the dangerous world it would be born into. That evening, I found Theron in our chambers, reviewing documents for the Grand Council meeting. He looked up when I entered, and his expression immediately shifted to concern. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong, I said, moving to sit beside him. Actually, something's very right, but also terrifying. He set aside his papers, giving me his full attention. Tell me. I took his hand and placed it over my stomach. I'm pregnant. The world seemed to stop. Theron's eyes went wide, his breath caught, and for a moment he looked exactly like he had when I told him about Isla. Overwhelmed, awed, terrified, ecstatic, all at once. Pregnant, he repeated, his voice barely a whisper. You're sure? Mira confirmed it today. His hand trembled against my stomach. Then he pulled me close, burying his face in my hair. I felt dampness against my neck and realized he was crying, silent, overwhelmed tears. I thought I'd never have this again, he choked out. Another chance. Another baby. With you. Are you happy? I asked, even though I could feel the answer in every trembling breath. Happy doesn't begin to cover it, he said, pulling back to cup my face in his hands. Celeste, you've given me everything. You survived the impossible, came back to me, let me earn your love again. And now this. He pressed his forehead to mine. I don't deserve you. Yes, you do, I said firmly. We deserve each other. We deserve happiness. We deserve this family. He kissed me then, soft and reverent and full of promises. And for the first time since my memories returned, the mate bond flared to full life between us. Not forced or rushed, but natural and right, our wolves recognizing what our hearts already knew. We were meant to be together. Later that night, as we lay tangled together in bed, Theron's hand resting protectively over my stomach, I brought up the concern that had been gnawing at me. The Grand Council meeting, I said quietly. With me pregnant, maybe I shouldn't go. Why not? Because I'm vulnerable now. An easy target. If Meridian's allies are there, then they'll see that you're not afraid, Theron interrupted. That pregnancy doesn't make you weak. It makes you fierce. He kissed my temple. Besides, I'll be there. Every warrior we trust will be there. And if anyone even looks at you wrong, they'll answer me. Overprotective much? Absolutely, he said without apology. You're carrying my child. I'm allowed to be completely unreasonable about your safety. I laughed, the sound surprising me with its lightness. Fair enough. The Grand Council meeting was held in neutral territory, a massive stone fortress built specifically for such gatherings. Alphas from 12 different packs attended, along with their Luna and key council members. The air hummed with power and politics, every conversation layered with hidden meanings. I wore a gown of midnight blue that made me look regal and dangerous. My hair was woven with silver threads, and a crown of moonstone rested on my head, the traditional Luna's crown I'd been too weak to wear until now. When Theron and I entered the Grand Hall, every conversation stopped. Every eye turned to us. Supreme Alpha Theron Nightshade, the announcer called, and Luna Celeste Nightshade, returned from death. Whispers erupted. Some wolves bowed deeply, showing respect. Others stared with barely concealed shock. They'd heard rumors of my return but hadn't believed them. And 5 wolves, the 5 alphas Theron had identified as suspects, looked at me with expressions ranging from horror to fury. They hadn't expected me to be here. Hadn't expected me to be strong, powerful, very much alive.
Good.
Let them be afraid. The formal proceedings were tedious. Reports on territory disputes, trade agreements, hunting rights. I sat at Theron's side, the perfect picture of a Luna, while secretly watching our suspects for any slip, any tell. It was Alpha Corvin of the Iron Ridge Pack who finally cracked. During a break in the proceedings, he approached us with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Luna Celeste, he said smoothly. What a miracle, your return. We'd all given up hope. Clearly, I replied coolly. You must tell us. Where were you all this time? The Supreme Alpha searched everywhere. I was imprisoned, I said, watching his reaction carefully. Tortured in a fortress by wolves who were paid to keep me there. His eyes twitched. Just once, barely noticeable. But I caught it. How terrible, he said. Do you know who arranged such a thing? We're still investigating, Theron said, his voice carrying a warning. But we're getting close. Very close. Corvin's smile faltered. Well, I hope you find the culprits. Such betrayal demands severe punishment. Oh, it does, I agreed. And they'll receive it. I promise you that. He excused himself shortly after, his composure cracking around the edges. Over the next 2 days, we watched the 5 suspects carefully. They met in secret, their conversations too quiet to hear, but their body language screaming guilt. They were planning something, I could feel it. On the final night of the council meeting, tradition demanded a grand feast and celebration. The hall was filled with music, dancing, and laughter. Wolves from different packs mingled freely. Old alliances renewed, and new friendships formed. I was speaking with a friendly Luna from the Eastern Territories when I felt it, a prickle of danger at the back of my neck, my wolf's warning that something was wrong. I turned, scanning the crowd, and saw him, a server approaching with wine, his scent wrong, masked but not quite hidden. Underneath the facade, I caught the bitter tang of wolfsbane and something else, poison. He was heading straight for me, the poisoned wine meant for my glass. Time seemed to slow. I could call for help, alert the guards, cause a scene. But that would scatter our enemies like roaches in light. We needed them to reveal themselves completely. So I made a choice. I took the wine glass when he offered it, smiled, raised it toward my lips, and accidentally stumbled, spilling the entire contents down the server's front. "Oh gods, I'm so clumsy," I exclaimed, loud enough to draw attention. "I'm so sorry." The server tried to move away, but Theron was already there, gripping his arm with iron strength. "It's fine," the server stammered. "Just wine, no harm done." "Except wine doesn't burn skin," Theron said coldly, looking at the man's shirt where the liquid had started smoking, eating through fabric. "But poison does." Guards surrounded us immediately. The server tried to run, but there was nowhere to go. "Who sent you?" Theron demanded. The server's eyes darted toward a group of 5 alphas trying to ease toward the exits, Corvin and his co-conspirators. That was all the confirmation we needed. "Seize them," Theron commanded, pointing at the 5 alphas. All of them. Charges of conspiracy to murder a Luna. The chaos erupted. The 5 alphas tried to protest, tried to run, tried to talk their way out. But the evidence was damning. The poisoned wine, the server who cracked under questioning and confessed everything, financial records Theron had been gathering for months. They'd funded Meridian's plot, paid for the fortress where I was kept, arranged for the witch who suppressed my memories. All because they feared Theron's power and saw my removal as a way to weaken him. By dawn, all 5 were in chains, awaiting trial. Their packs would need new leadership. Their territories would be redistributed. And the message was clear. Touch the Luna and face total destruction. A week later, we made good on my promise. We returned to the fortress where Isla and I had been held captive. Every wolf who'd been imprisoned there came with us. Nearly 30 survivors who'd lived through the same nightmare. We stood together, facing the stone walls that had contained so much suffering, and Theron handed me a torch. "You should do the honors," he said. I looked at Isla, now holding her own small torch. At the other survivors, their faces are hard with memory and determination. At Theron, my mate, my partner, my love. "Together," I said. "We do this together." As one, we threw our torches. Flames caught quickly. Theron's warriors had doused the place in oil earlier. Fire roared to life, consuming the dungeon, the cells, the torture chamber, everything. We watched it burn, and with each collapsing wall, I felt something heavy lift from my chest. Isla slipped her hand into mine. "Mama, is it really over?" I looked at the fortress burning to ash, at the survivors weeping with relief and closure, at Theron standing proud and protective at my side. "Yes, baby," I said. "It's really over." 6 months later, I gave birth to twin boys. They came into the world screaming with healthy lungs and strong wolves, both with Theron's dark hair and my silver eyes. We named them Kieran and Eric, and they immediately stole every heart in the fortress. Isla was an enthusiastic big sister, constantly checking on her baby brothers and declaring herself their official protector. Watching her with them, I saw the little girl from the dungeon transformed, confident, happy, whole. Theron was an impossibly doting father, often found in the nursery at odd hours, just watching the boys sleep with an expression of absolute wonder. And me? I was happy. Truly, completely happy. My duties as Luna filled my days with purpose. My family filled my heart with joy. And my mate, my incredible, patient, loving mate, filled my soul with peace. We still had challenges, of course. Pack politics never entirely disappeared, but we faced them together, stronger for everything we'd survived. One evening, a year after the twins' birth, I found Theron on our balcony, the same place where so many important conversations had happened. Thinking too loud, I teased, coming to stand beside him. He smiled, pulling me close. Just thinking about how close I came to losing this. Losing you, Isla, never knowing our sons existed. His voice roughened. Some nights I still wake up terrified it's all a dream. It's not a dream, I assured him, taking his hand and placing it over my heart. Feel that? I'm real. We're real. And we're never going to be torn apart again. Promise. Promise. He kissed me then, deep and sweet and full of everything we'd built from ashes and pain and stubborn hope. When we finally pulled apart, I rested my head on his shoulder and looked up at the moon, the same moon that had watched over me in the darkness, that had witnessed my suffering and survival, that now blessed my happiness. Thank you, I whispered. Theron glanced at me curiously. For what? For not giving up. For searching for me when everyone said you should let me go. For loving me even when I couldn't remember loving you back. I'd do it all again, he said simply. 1,000 times over. Because you're worth every moment of pain, every year of searching, every battle fought. He turned me to face him, his eyes intense and sincere. You're my Luna, Celeste. Not just my mate, but my equal, my partner, my everything. And I will spend the rest of my life making sure you never doubt that. Tears pricked my eyes, happy tears this time. I love you, I said. I don't care if that makes me vulnerable or weak. I love you with everything I am. Love never makes you weak, he replied. It's what made you survive. What kept you fighting when anyone else would have given up. What protected Isla when you had nothing else. He pressed his forehead to mine. Love is what makes you the strongest wolf I know. From inside our chambers, we heard one of the twins crying, quickly followed by the other. Then Isla's voice, singing a lullaby, the same one I'd sung to her in the dungeon, passed down now to her brothers. Silver moon, watching from above, keep us safe, keep us warm, wrap us in your love. When the darkness feels too heavy and the night too long, silver moon, sing us your song. Theron and I stood there, listening to our daughter sing to our sons, and I knew with absolute certainty, we'd survived the darkness. We'd defeated our enemies. We'd rebuilt everything that was taken from us. And now, finally, we got to live. Not as broken wolves trying to remember who they were, but as a family who'd earned their happiness through blood and tears and unbreakable love. The moon shone down on us, silver and eternal, bearing witness to the end of one story and the beginning of another. And in that moment, standing in my mate's arms while our children's voices drifted through the night, I was more than Luna, more than survivor, more than the wolf who'd been broken and remade. I was Celeste Nightshade. I was home. And I was free. 5 years later, on a spring morning bright with promise, I stood on the fortress steps watching Isla teach her brothers how to hunt. She was 12 now, already showing the strength and wisdom that would make her a formidable Luna someday. The twins, 5 years old and full of mischief, tried to stalk a rabbit with all the stealth of avalanches. Isla corrected them patiently, demonstrating proper technique, while trying not to laugh at their earnest efforts. Theron appeared beside me, sliding an arm around my waist. They're going to be terrors when they're older. They already are terrors, I corrected, but my voice was full of love, just like their mother. I elbowed him gently, and he laughed, a sound that never got old, never failed to warm my heart. Do you ever think about it? I asked quietly. The fortress, the dungeon, everything that happened? Sometimes, he admitted, but not with pain anymore. More like... He paused, searching for words. Like a reminder of how strong you are, how strong we are together. I nodded. The memories would always be there, scars that never fully faded. But they didn't define me anymore, didn't control me. They were simply part of my story, the dark chapters that made the happy ending so much sweeter. Mama, Papa, watch, Isla called. She shifted smoothly into her wolf form, now nearly as large as I was, her fur a beautiful mix of silver and dark brown. The twins squealed with excitement and shifted too, their small wolf forms tumbling over each other in their enthusiasm. Theron and I shifted as well, joining our children in the meadow for an impromptu run. We raced through forests and across streams, our pack, our family moving as one. And as we ran beneath the endless sky, I felt truly complete. The girl who'd woken in chains with no name and no past was gone. The broken Luna, who couldn't remember her own mate, had healed. In their place was a woman who knew exactly who she was, a survivor, a mother, a Luna, a fighter, a lover. A wolf who'd been forgotten but refused to stay erased. And above us all, the moon watched and smiled, knowing that some bonds can never be broken, not by time, not by torture, not by magic or betrayal or any darkness the world can throw at them. Because love, true love, always finds its way home. Always.
The end.
And so ends the tale of Celeste Nightshade, the Luna who died and lived again. Thank you for running with us through darkness and light, pain and healing, loss and love. May you find your own way home, no matter how lost you feel. Until the next story calls us into the night, stay wild,